Nothing. Huh?
Did you guys hear the story of the young boy in Anambra State who they said they had not seen for 5 years, but somehow they found him tied up in chains in his father's backyard, in a goat house, in a yam farm barn or something? According to the story, this happened in Etiti village, Agwata local government area of Anambra State, and the young man by the name of Chigbo Agudo was said to be a vibrant youth, and he was always active. He plays football with his friends and took part in a lot of activities that goes on in the village. So people know him. This is a popular boy. And then somewhere in 2021, they stopped seeing him. His father is a prominent man in that village and also a known powerful native doctor. When they stopped seeing Chigbo, they went to the father and asked the father where he was. And the father told them that Chigbo had traveled to China. And they were surprised because Chigbo never told anybody about that. But they were happy for him. They were hoping that, they could maintain the friendship and the connection they had with him. They would try calling his phone, it would ring and nobody is speaking. They would try to reach him online, on Facebook, Instagram, nothing. They couldn't get to Chigbo. Sometimes they would come back to the father and ask. The father would be like, oh, he has a China number now. He's still in China. He said I should greet you all, passing it as though he was actually in touch with his son and his son is actually very busy with his life. And obviously, nobody thought anything of it. Because first of all, the father could afford to take his son to China. And that was how 2021 passed, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. In August of 2025, that was when things started to crack. Obviously, you can hide a dead body for that long, but how long can you hide a living human being in a barn tied up in chain at the backyard of your house? How long? Apparently, over time, some people who would get close to the family started learning that Chigbo is not in China. However, he's in chains in his father's backyard. And the rumors started to spread. The rumors started to go around. It's unclear where it started from. It could have been one visitor. It could have been somebody spilling. It could have been the children talking. Eventually, word started getting around the community youth that the Chigbo that they thought was in China is actually in chains in his father's backyard. And this sparked outrage when the youth decided to gather around one last time to go and confront Chigbo's father. The fact that it all made sense that if Chigbo was in China and never reached out and never would take his calls and was not responsive on social media, then something is wrong. So even if he's not tied up in chains because they could not believe it, then they still need to know where Chigbo was. And when they went to Chigbo's father's house, they demanded to see Chigbo. They demanded to know where he was. They were basically asking the father, is he dead or is he alive? Is he in prison somewhere? That he should just tell them that they are willing to go at any length to find this young man. But the father became aggressive. He started combating them, started telling them that it's none of their business if his son is dead or alive, that he is the father, that they should worry about their own life and they should get out from his house. Obviously, this man is a known native doctor and is a powerful one. So he was dwelling on the fact that he was feared with hopes that if he threatens them enough, they would leave. But this youth did not come to play. This youth did not, they were ready. They came ready. At this point, whatever the father wanted to do, he should do it. Because what they've heard and his attitude right now shows that something was up. And it's basically making the rumor seem possible. It's not as if the youth had seen pictures or videos. They had only just heard. But they were trying to give this man the benefit of the doubt. And now, confronting him, he's being aggressive, threatening them, telling them to mind their business, saying if his son is dead or alive is not their concern. Oh, things are about to change. Even when this man threatened to slap one of them, he most likely did. But he could not overpower the crowd of youths that had come to look for Chigbo. And eventually he was overpowered and they began searching the house. They searched this man's house and eventually went to the backyard, and just as the rumor claimed, Chigbo was found, malnourished, skinny to the bone, tied up in chains, hands and legs, in a barn, a yam barn. Some sources said it looks like where they keep the goats, alive and clearly vocal. And they also noticed that he had been groomed, his hair, his beard. For somebody who had been chained, they were hoping he would be unkept. And this indicated that they've been giving him food, shaving his hair, baiting him, and then returning him back to the shackles. When Chigbo saw the youth, he too became very vocal. It was clear that, yeah, this young man has been kept there, and although looking malnourished, had been fed once or twice. And he was able to tell them and speak to them that he had been in that barn, in that chain, since the 3rd of July 2021. He started telling them that for a whole month, his family locked him outside the house before they eventually tied him up into those chains. And that once a while, they will also tape his mouth to keep him shut from screaming and from talking. And most times they would starve him on purpose so that he would not have the energy to drag, fight, and create attention in that barn for 5 years. For 5 years. They tried to unlock the chains and the padlocks, but they realized it was so rusty and they began trying to cut it out. But somewhere along the line, confusion set in. The villagers who were there started sensing that the father's juju was beginning to take effect. And in the video, you could hear someone say that whatever juju that this man had used is starting to affect the people who were trying to free him. At this point, there were youths who were angry, confronting the father, confronting his sisters, and they were begging the youth to calm down, that they will explain why they had to do what they did to Chigbo. Now, we still don't know why they did it, but according to what is going around, they believe that it had something to do with the fact that Chigbo is the first son of the father and only son from his mother, which is the father's first wife, which we don't know whether or not the father's first wife is in the picture. However, Chigbo's father is currently with a second wife, and the second wife had her own children with the man. And they believe that she is the one who had the influence to lock up the first son from the first wife. You know how we see it in Nollywood movies now, and killing the man's first son so that your own children can inherit property. It's giving that vibe. It's giving that notion. And I think that's why a lot of people are saying that it's the man's in-laws from his second wife place that helped encourage him and assisted him into locking up his first son. Another sources of people who remember him from back in the day. Now, these are some of the youth saying they may not take this seriously because from what they remember it's been 5 years. So a lot of memories will fade off. But now that it's coming up again, people are now saying that back in the day, even when he used to play football with them, Chigbo was always erratic, that he acted insane, that he was stubborn and aggressive and violent, that he had a way that would make somebody actually think that something is wrong with him. And that could be why his father and his in-laws decided to chain him up, that they are treating his situation, his stubbornness, his erraticness as a mental illness. And I think that mental illness works. Some sources also say he does drugs back then. So it is possible that many of these villagers who went to rescue him are going to treat it as such. Some of them will even say that they will take him to a psychiatric hospital. And I think that kind of suggests that they too see the possibility that he may have been mentally unstable. The police have not said anything, whether or not they will investigate it, but they say they've seen the video. It looks like an in-house situation. It's not as if they were killing him or doing something bad to him. The fact that they kept feeding him, cutting his hair, grooming him, kind of suggests that whatever they did, as illegal as it was in good faith, was from a good heart. But I guess that stepmother notion is kind of making it a little bit suspicious. You know, I don't think his father would have done this if he didn't think it was for his best interest. At the same time, we would never know. Maybe they had plans. Maybe as a native doctor, there was something he was doing. We don't know. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. However, though, for a stubborn boy, an erratic boy, how do you get yourself chained up in a barn for 5 years? How? He most likely would have been mentally unstable, if you ask me. Because someone that stubborn would not have let this happen. They probably waited for him to be, for the drugs to take effect, for him to be slow before they probably put him in those chains. Could be. For 5 years. Damn, that is 5 years of his life. If he was 25, then he would have been 30 by now. He was 30, he would be 35. If he was 35, he's 40 now. Ooh, 5 years of your life in chains.